Yeah, Steven's got way more to show because he's airing all kinds of soundtracks. Yeah. It's a nice Warhammer there. All right, welcome to episode 186 of the Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Powers, and joining me once again, Steven.
Yes.
He just shook his head for those listening. Who is, if you could watch this, wearing a shirt that makes me incredibly uncomfortable because it says Super Nintendo in the Sega Genesis font and logo style. It's just,
my wife has the Super Nintendo one that says Sega Genesis.
Just, oh, that kills me.
Whenever I wear this out, I tell her to wear the other one so people will just like do double takes. I'm like,
yeah, that's just very uncomfortable. What else that makes me very uncomfortable? We have our friend Chase.
G'day.
He's had that look on his face like, how am I making you uncomfortable? It's just many things, man. Many things. All right. So this week we're going to be kind of a light week. We're talking about some Lego Batman corrections, talking about Switch 2 dev kit issues, a bunch of stuff about Space Marine 2, some Japanese library, one of the library groups not taking in key cards and all kinds of fun stuff this week. So, but to jump into that, to start, we'll jump into what we've been doing. So, Steven, why don't you start us off? What you been up to, man?
Well, I started Kirby and Forgotten Land. It's going before Donkey Kong because I was just like, I waited for this one to now that it has an upgrade, going back to the ones that got upgrades and playing through those. So I'll play through this one because many people have said it was shorter than Donkey Kong. So I was like, okay.
It is.
And now I can use all those gift codes, even the new gift code they gave out for the Star-Crossed World. So I was like, cool. I've been playing, speaking of uncomfortable games, I've been playing Killing Antidote on Steam. It is basically if Resident Evil had fan service. Because there's tons of costumes. Wow. The costumes can get battle damaged, and you need a sewing kit if you want to sew them back up. You can go in front of a mirror and change her characteristics to whatever you want. People have modded tons of costumes and makeup for her that goes insane.
Of course they have, because gamers are oddly horny.
The gameplay is surprisingly very solid, and some of the stuff where she's like, I've killed enough zombies, I just need to take a shower to wash off all this gunk, and you get attacked by something that makes like the tyrant look like a pansy, and you're like, you have no weapons, so you just have to keep running from this thing as it breaks through walls and tries to kill you.
Wait, does it do this while you're taking the shower, or are you just like running around with a shower curtain going like, don't look at me?
You're running around with just a towel.
Oh my God.
And you have to like find stuff, and the only thing that'll help you with stamina is if you find like an energy drink. It'll make it so your stamina doesn't go down, so you can run away from this thing. And I was just like, this has been scarier than anything I've played on Resident Evil, because they just the options given to you are just like, you have to wait until it breaks through a wall that you can get through because the doors are locked. And I'm like, all right, this is pretty good actually.
All right. Just a bunch of nudity.
But as one YouTuber put it, this is the Resident Evil we deserve. Yes, that's G-Man Lives.
Oh man.
And then I went through a bunch of my demos on Steam. A lot of them said, sorry, there's no more license because Steam Next Fest is over. So I had to delete all those. I was like, yay, I love when demos have licenses.
How very couple generations ago, Nintendo.
I tried Until Then, which is like a totally pixel-based kind of choice-based novel, like graphic novel.
Oh, okay.
But it's very well done. The animation style reminds me of kind of like you're taking pixels and you're taking like something like Willy Beamish and you're mixing them together. So it does a pretty good job. And just it's good. Of course, the demo ends. I played another game that said it was a beat 'em up called Robo Frenzy demo. It was pretty boring because it was a lot of like just walking around and you fought like one big boss, but they just didn't. I don't know. They made everything so small that I didn't feel like I was making an impact because they just wanted to make the bosses big and you really small on the map. So I was like, that's no fun. My guilty pleasure, other than ZZZ, which of course is there, I just wanted to switch around the order for once.
I would say, don't get your hopes up. He's playing it.
Yeah, I'm always playing ZZZ. Otherwise, I'm sick. I was also playing Save Room, which is basically 40 levels of you trying to fit all your items you found into your briefcase. So it basically is copying off Resident Evil 4 and
Oh, I heard about this.
It's just an awesome puzzle game where you're just trying to put all those in the correct
How much
slot.
is that one?
And in order to make room, you have to like reload your weapons, heal yourself to make room for more stuff in your briefcase until they all fit.
Nice.
And lastly, because
how much was a save room? Do you remember?
$2, $3?
Oh, that's nothing. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I was just like, it was a pick up and play thing. So I was like, if I have 10 minutes to kill, I just played a couple levels of Save Room. And I'm like, this is great.
Okay.
And it just plays the soothing Safe Room music. Legally distinct, of course. Lastly, on the Switch 1, I'm kind of tempted now to try it out on the PlayStation or Xbox. But this whole week until the 9th is the Sonic Racing Cross World Open Beta.
Mm-hmm.
Which you go to their shops and it's right there for you to download. I really enjoyed it, actually. They did some really good things with how you drift and how you constantly have a rival who complains to you during the match. Like, get out of my way, I need to catch up. Or where'd you come from when you pass him? So it does neat little things like that. So this is something, especially since I think they announced this was going to be on cart. Is I will be getting this for Switch 2. It is different enough from Mario Kart that I think I'll enjoy it. The only thing I don't enjoy is when you're on the final lap, they sing the words final lap in every different way you can. So they're just like, final lap, final lap, final lap, final. I was like, shut up.
Well, thankfully the Switch 2 has a volume control, so you'll know at the final lap, turn the volume down.
And last but not least, I only need one more, but I got two more of the Funko arcades. A few more. I got the Star Wars one with Luke Skywalker.
Ooh.
I got the Toy Story one. Ooh. And I got the a Wreck-It Ralph one.
Oh, nice.
Target carries these now.
Okay. I haven't seen them anywhere, but
so I found some of them. Be careful though; they are in the system as just Funko. So that means it's one of those like you get a box, kind of like you do with action figures. You get a box and like maybe 12 of them are the common game or common one, and then there's just a few of the other ones. Because I went to one Target and they had like 7 Toy Stories, and when you look on their website, it's like they have 5 in stock. I'm like, no, you don't. You have 5 Toy Stories in stock because they're doing the sale until tomorrow, where it was buy 2 get 1 free. So on all the Funko. So I was just like, all right, I need to find the arcade ones.
I'll have to check that out. We probably swing by some of the stores tomorrow while we're out. See if I can find them. All right. Chase, what about you? What you been doing?
So I continued my quest in Soul Reaver Remastered. I haven't quite beat the first one yet, but I think I'm getting close to the second boss battle. So
oh, nice.
Been really enjoying my time with the game, and there's a lot of wait, how did I solve this again? Oh yeah, and then it all comes back to you afterwards.
I had that when I was on the flight last week, and I was like, I have no internet on this flight. I'm trying to remember how I got through that first boss fight. I'm like, shit.
Yo. And then Chanel and I started a playthrough of Divinity Original Sin 2. It's really fun. It basically tells me, or it basically shows me, like, that's how Larian got the Baldur's Gate 3 license. Because
that makes sense.
It's Baldur's Gate 3, but just different.
Like, I warned you.
But yeah, no, it's good. Like, I'm enjoying the game. It's different from the first one. We played the first one's one.
And we didn't even scratch the surface.
No,
we threw a pencil down a hallway of completion.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever played those. I have to see if I actually have any of them, but
yeah. The first one I think is only 2-player.
If you took all the Diablos, meshed them into one game, and then increased the size 10 times, you have Divinity Original Sin 1.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's a lot of game.
And if you click on the wrong thing, they accuse you of stealing. When Chase and I played the original Sin 1, I clicked on a pot by accident, and then the person living there was like, thief! And I'm like, I didn't mean to. Try to open the door.
Yeah, I think they accused you of stealing one because you actually did steal something, but that's beside the point.
I was innocent.
You saw nothing.
Yesterday, I ended up playing a little bit of Oblivion Remastered. Shinoa basically got to a point in the arena where she's like, just handed me the controllers, like, get me through this. So I did. It's really fun, and the game looks really good. Like, it's definitely an upgrade.
I think this is another of like the recent recreations of games where they're running the old engine underneath it to try and keep the logic in there. So I'm curious how this one's been kind of feeling, but it's good to hear it's been playing well.
Yeah, you should have a new segment on the show, Chase, called "Get Me Through This." On today's episode of "Get Me Through This," I was told to play Oblivion Remastered.
That'd be good.
Whatever.
Actually.
I could join in with that because Amanda does that too. That's what happened with like a lot of like bosses and like Luigi's Mansion 2 and stuff like that. Here, get me through this. I'm like,
okay. A very special episode of "Get Me Through This." I had to beat this boss. It was annoying.
Yeah, it was.
That's great.
Yeah, the part that she got stuck on was, and don't get me wrong, it was pretty annoying because it's basically like 3 monks that you're fighting against. It's a 3-on-1 in the arena, and there's these 3 monks, and they basically are just constantly disarming you all the time. So you have to so you'd hit them a few times, then one of them will hit you with a disarming attack, and so then you'd like kite them around the thing, run around, pick your weapon back up, open up your inventory, re-equip the weapon, and then just start hitting them again for a little bit, and then they disarm you, and so then you just keep rinse and repeat over and over again. But I got her through it.
That's definitely old school jank, because nowadays you'd pick up the sword and it would just be like, all right, I have it in my hand. Like I picked it up with my hand and I've got it.
Yep. So that was, that was definitely that. It still has that Bethesda musk to it, but it's like this, it's a familiar musk, right? Like it's a familiar smell. You're just like, yep, I know exactly what this is.
It's like wandering into a grandparent's house. Like, that's that weird old smell, but I remember it. Good summers here, you know.
A lot of cheese.
Yep. And then last but not least, I think I cracked open the other day, decided to crack up Space Marine 2 again, play a little bit more siege mode with some randos. I actually got past wave 4, or the 4th stage. And then instead of going to stage 5, we were just like, yeah, fuck it, we got what we came for. So we're not going to push our luck. But that game is just absolutely nuts. Like the amount of enemies they throw at you in stage 4, I was like, what is going on?
Yeah, I need to hop back on there with you at some point and play some.
Yeah, we probably should at some point, because I think we'll definitely have some reasons to hear pretty soon.
Yep, we'll be talking about that tonight.
Let's wait for the season 2 to start, just because that way we're not just like, oh, we completed that one thing again. Like, no, we're gonna throw the big stuff at us.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, we'll be getting a whole new mode and everything right that first day. So yeah, for sure. All right. So for myself this week, I've had kind of an interesting eclectic selection of games. I started playing the one that Steven talked me into that came in yesterday called Date Everything, which this game is so weird. And I forgot to notice it has an M for mature.
Stream friendly.
No, it's not. Not unless you set certain settings. It is also really uncomfortable to find that out while sitting in a coffee shop playing it. Because even though I put headphones on, because you do want to hear the audio. The voice cast of this game is ridiculous.
It's unmatched, yeah.
Yeah. You've got a bunch of like the Crit Show people, I think, or Roll20 or whatever, or that group. You've got a bunch of the people. Critical Role, thank you. There's so many damn D&D games I could just throw at something and hit one. Say what?
I said you're gonna throw a dice and hit something. Natural 20.
Yeah. Well, you find a dice, and that's Matt Mercer in this. Like he's voicing that, which is great. But there's also a bunch of the cast from Dropout, as well as Not Another D&D game, which is a podcast I listen to, which is a bunch of people from Dropout and Old College Humor. A bunch of them are in this, like playing people or objects and so forth. This game gets really, really horny. Like, you run into a character very early on that's like, hey, you might run into some very uncomfortable topics that can deal with sex, abuse, other things. You're just like, where is this going? And it'll ask you, do you want me to pop up and warn you before it, or just let you go? And I was like, it can't be that bad. Just let me go. Boy, I should have taken the warning, which is fine. I'm 45 years old. It's whatever. But when I'm sitting there in the middle of a Starbucks and it starts saying some of the stuff or showing the visuals, and I'm like, turn the switch away from people. I'm just going to hide in a corner. Let me get to a save point so I can leave. Like, but I'm glad, like, this is one, like I said, Steven, you suggested me to play and try it out. You kind of pointed me towards it because this is not the type of game I normally play. I've never played a dating game before, which when Amanda heard about this, my wife, she laughed her ass off and kept messing with me about it, going like, you're playing what now? It's like, what's going on? I even had a few people, they found out about it and they were pretty surprisingly dismissive about it. Like, oh, I'm ashamed of you playing that. Like, it's not real games. I'm like, the hell are you talking about? Like, it's actually really well made. It's funny as hell, with a lot of little inter-character stuff going on.
All the writing that had to go into this and the voice acting, and it's just like,
it's an involved game.
There is a lot of dating sims out there that are, I guess more serious, and yeah, to each their own. But then there's the ones that you just like, I have to try it out. They had there's Date Everything, but before that, KFC had it where you could date the Colonel. Chris played that. There's all these ones where they make a random dating sim. The real ones that were released during April Fool's Day turned out to be real ones, like the Overwatch dating sim as well. So they're just fun little jaunts.
Yeah. But I'm enjoying it. I've met like 30 different characters so far. And like I said, it's still super impressive. Every single character for their spoken parts are voiced. Nothing is like extra text after a comment. All of it is voiced. The only time you get text that is not voiced is if you're just looking at an object and you get a little text description or something like that. That's it. But if it's a character saying something, it is spoken, which is impressive as hell, given the amount of people and statements I've found. And it's not even just like straight through. Like, there's a game console you can talk to that it actually is a game. It's almost like a text adventure by voice that you can play that has different things you can do. And like, there's some fun twists to that. Like, it's a surprisingly creative game. So I recommend people try it. Be 18 or older. Be prepared for stuff. If you get the physical copy, the DLC is included, and the DLC characters are hilarious because they are blatantly making fun of microtransactions and DLC, and also kind of messing with you for paying the extra money. Even though I bought the cartridge version, it was included. They still act like you spent so much money on these things. So I like the fact it can kind of give itself shit for its own thing. I'm perfectly fine with that. So give it a go. Beyond that, you were talking about KFC. Ironically, I have been playing another game that has KFC involved, and that's Funko Fusion. I got it during a sale. It was basically free. That's the only reason I got it. Because Jennifer wanted to play as Mega Man, which I have not unlocked yet. But we also found out you can get a bunch of the stuff from Wicked, and God help me, I'm going to end up doing that and losing that game to Jennifer as well. But KFC, you find chicken buckets, KFC chicken buckets in every level, which I don't know. Maybe you unlock the Colonel as a playable character, which would be weird as shit. Oh my God.
There's a mech version of him.
I'm not even surprised. Date Everything was pretty solid. There was a few bugs in it that I ran into, but nothing too drastic. I had to restart it once and some things like that. Funko Fusion, I've broken the game like 3 times where it locked up and I'm still playing, but like the character I have to defeat is like stuck somewhere and will not come out, but he's invincible during that phase. So I can't destroy him. So I have to leave the level, come back, start over again. I've had to do that a few times. The game looks really good and it is kind of blatant. It's like it's a Lego game light, which is not the best thing to say because Lego games are not normally that complex to begin with. But it's a pretty game. The music is really good. A lot of surprising actual licensed music, especially when I was playing through with like the Umbrella Academy. Just started playing music during boss fights and other parts, and I was like, oh, wait, this is the actual song. Okay. So that was kind of fun. So we'll see if I hear more about that one, but I've only gone through He-Man and Umbrella Academy for the most part. I have found stuff where I can potentially unlock Knight Rider, which I haven't done yet. And I'm trying to work through, I think Jurassic Park is the next one that I play in that one. I got Kirby and the Forgotten Lands for the Switch 2 edition, which I have the lovely cartridge here because I bought the physical copy. I have not played it yet because Jennifer took it over for the entire day yesterday. I did not have a Switch 2 yesterday. I think she played it for like 6 hours straight. Like just took over my game room.
Time to buy another Switch 2.
It's not enough to warrant getting her one right now because she plays her Switch and that's all she plays and it's fine. But God, she was having so much fun with it. So I could hear her playing it. Say what?
You're going to lose your Switch 2 on November 20th. So
she doesn't really like Kirby Air Ride that much. It's not her type of game. I've tried her with the first one. She thought it was neat. She liked watching it, but she doesn't like playing it. She likes an actual Kirby platformer or adventure game. So who knows? I've also been playing No Man's Sky after the Switch 2 update. Now that I can actually move my game save over, my 100 hours of gameplay is now on my Switch 2, which I love how it runs. It actually runs really well. It looks great. All of my stuff is accessible. I can do crossplay on it now, and it plays portably way better than my Steam Deck does. Like,
I guess they have a dev kit.
Yeah, they do actually. They had to lock it in a single room.
Foreshadowing.
I knew that was going to come up. I freaking knew it was going to. I know, Steven, you don't like No Man's Sky, but I have a lot of fun with it and exploring, and I really enjoy it.
At least someone does.
There's a lot of us. There's like dozens
at least
of us.
At least somebody has a dev kit too.
Yeah, there's dozens of them too. I don't know. Who acted like they didn't have a dev kit is the people that made Helldivers 2 for Xbox. Because in their effort to make the most accurate Helldivers 2 launch scenario for the Xbox players, the game arrived totally broken. Like, I bought it and I looked back later and I realized this is partially my fault because I saw that it was coming out and I was like, that's great. I bought the big edition of it so I could get a free one of the passes in there. And I was like, cool, I'll use that for the ODST, and missed the fact that it's a standard one of the war bonds you can get, but the new ODST is a legendary and it doesn't count. So I was like,
Brilliant.
I spent this extra $20 just to find out I can't use it on what I want to use it.
ZZZ money, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna. It's annoying. I played it single player because I couldn't get anyone else to join me for a little while because you guys were busy and it's, reasonable stuff. And it played okay, a little glitchy here and there, but it's like very much like it launched on PlayStation and PC. So I know they're going to fix it. They are good about that. But we found out later when we tried to play with another friend of mine that you could not play multiplayer with Xbox players or crossplay players. So basically you were stuck by yourself. At least that was the issue I was having. So I was like, that's not a great way to start Helldivers 2. I guess I'll just
should have tried to force it and shoot that flare that's supposed to call people.
I didn't even think about doing that. That would have been a good idea just to see what happens.
Like, connect!
Yeah, give me somebody. Because, soloing some of these missions, not easy. Oh my God, it was so difficult. I miss having you guys there because I'm so used to having, if I'm going to die, it's usually by Chase's hand calling something down, but at least you acknowledge that with your mannerism there. Chase, like, yeah, it's me. So I'm going to try it some more. Hopefully we can, maybe even tonight, we can try a little bit of Helldivers 2, see if I can get connected after it updates and see what happens. The last thing I want to talk about for stuff I've played, or not really played, but watched, is I am a couple of episodes all the way through currently Alien Earth with what they've shown, and it is really, really good. I love the fact that the alien itself, the xenomorph, is not the big bad of the whole show. There are a lot of other things that are going on that kind of, it's just being played as part of the mix. And the first 4 episodes deal with the aliens. There's more than one type, as well as, you know, these new androids and everything else with the corporation going on there. And the 5th episode, which is coming up next Tuesday, is going to be a throwback episode. It's going to be what happened to the ship coming in. So if you're watching it, you know, it's 4 episodes to build up the suspense of what's going on, and then they're going to throw you back to the beginning before you get to find out what happens next. So I kind of like when they do that. It screws with you.
I also like that the alien is all practical effects
for the most part. I mean, they have a good mix of it, as they should.
I've seen bloopers where it's dancing.
Yeah. But I mean, there's sometimes they pretty much have to, but I think that's pretty much true of anything. Like, use the CG to, you know, tighten up something or make a little change or whatever. But they are mostly physical, which is good. And then lastly, I have been still continuing Strange New Worlds, which yesterday's episode, or Thursday's episode, sorry, was the one with the 4 Vulcans that a lot of people seem to be love or hate with. Some people are trying to make the claim of, like, if you enjoyed it, you're a bad person. Like, the conversation's gotten to that. And I'm like, come on, guys. Like, I liked it. It was funny. It was meant to be stupid, but they're saying, like, oh, it's being racist. It's, you know, taking stuff, because basically you've got 4 of the crew that are turned into basically Vulcans, and it is overwhelming them. And they have become the worst type of Vulcans, where they're complete logical assholes, or they're overly this or that. Like, it's people becoming Vulcans and they just cannot handle it, and they become the worst. And it's them having to deal with everybody. And they keep ripping into Spock, where they're like, we're going to be sending down like 5 Vulcans for this mission. And they pop up. To be logical, it's 4.5. And the look on Spock's face of like, the fuck did you just say? Like, he's like, really? I had to grow up with this shit. Now I'm dealing with it now on my own ship. So it's funny. I get why they're doing it, but it's a Star Trek episode I've seen recently where the conversation has gotten pretty bad, where there's some of the Star Trek people, I'm like, cool, I don't want to deal with this, and I've unfollowed them because I don't want to hear it anymore. So that's kind of sad. But all right, let's talk some group chat of some good things we've played. All right, so I've got an echo from somebody. Real quick, we touched on Zombie Army 4 we played a little bit last week. Once again, shooting zombies, all seeing the wrong replays, working our way through killing zombie Hitler all over again. Nazis are dead, and it's a good thing. So, anything else to add?
You got to appear like for 1 second, and Chase just gunned him in the head. He was like, I am zombie. I'm like, okay.
Shut up. Oh, that's great. Every time something like that happens, they'll pop up like they're going to be a big bad, like some guy comes out of the ground to call up those bombers, and one of us just immediately shoots him in the head or the heart, and we're just like, all right, moving on.
Here's a new enemy. There was a new enemy.
Yeah, sometimes the clip doesn't even get to finish before one of us is killed. It's pretty good. Beyond that, though, Chase, you and I have played separately some Gears of War Reloaded, which just came out. Steven, I don't know if you've had a chance to play this at all yet or not. We have not played it co-op, which I'm a little disappointed in both of us. We really should have done that by now.
Yeah, we'll rectify that soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I'm staying back because I was like, it's only 2 players, so I was like, you guys have fun.
Well, I want to hit some of the multiplayer too. I want to see how that goes. But I want to get your thoughts on it, because you and I have both played the original Gears of War back when it first came out. We've played Ultimate and played all through that. Even recently, last year, we played through the entire game in co-op and explored all of that stuff. So now we're getting Reloaded, which is Ultimate was the 10-year anniversary of the original, and this is the 10-year anniversary of the 10-year anniversary. So time moves on, and we're all going to die. But
yeah,
what are your thoughts on this new version of the game?
I I mean, it's Gears 1. What you see is what you get. I mean, it looks great. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're expecting the leap from the Xbox 360 version to Ultimate Edition, you're probably going to be slightly disappointed. But but you are still getting you still see a difference from Ultimate Edition to Reloaded. So I'm quite pleased with how it looks. I've tried it with both just the normal frame rate, and then I think you can do the 120 FPS mode, and I've tried it with that, and it's buttery smooth. Like, I enjoy the game. I've played both the Xbox and the PlayStation version. I will say that what Helldivers did coming to Xbox, Gears obviously has had some issues coming to PlayStation because playing the Xbox version, I was like, sweet, Gears of War, everything's as it is, should be, blah blah blah. When I've been playing the PlayStation version, there's definitely some bugs. There's definitely some things they need to iron out because, like, for instance, your AI companions just won't move. I've ran into that quite a bit where they just stand there and they don't even move. And I was just like,
which model PlayStation are you playing it on?
Just the normal.
Oh, okay.
The original. Because
apparently I think the Pro specifically was having some issues, but I was kind of wondering.
No, this is the original.
Okay.
It's just, it was, there's segments where there's quite a few segments that I had where, like, Dom, and even when it was Dom and Baird and Coltrane all together, they just would stand there and they wouldn't actually, like, follow you. And so I was like, okay, cool. So this is basically just a solo playthrough. All right. So
I heard some reviews talking about the AI having a problem sometimes. So
but that's something they'll patch and it'll iron out eventually. So otherwise, I mean, the gameplay's fine on PlayStation. Although it does feel weird playing Gears of War on a PlayStation controller. I am going to throw that out there slightly.
Yeah, because you're playing the Xbox version, you're playing on Game Pass, and then you bought the disc for PlayStation, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay. Which is only like $40, which is not terrible, at least from the US.
The campaign
it's probably
is
140 for you.
Multiplayer you have to install, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is fine. I don't mind that.
I actually don't have it with me, but the actual case says content download required on the bottom of it.
Yeah, a lot of people took that as a sign, like, oh, it's just a code in the box, basically. But no, they did like what Doom 2016 did on the Switch, where they're like, hey, the actual story mode is on the cartridge. The multiplayer has to be downloaded. And I'm like, okay, because once that goes down and if you can't play it anymore, you can't play multiplayer anyways. What does it matter?
Yeah.
So that's good. That's a good thing to get. So I will end up having to buy this on PlayStation and it will feel wrong. So
especially on your shelf and you're like, Gears.
Yeah. So it's just gonna be up there.
And then you go back down to E-Day. Gears.
Well, I have to get a physical copy of that first. We don't know if they're going to do that.
Hopefully that gets announced.
But for Gears Reloaded, I ended up getting it for free, which was kind of funny because if you bought Gears of War Ultimate, they were giving those players the copy of Reloaded. But I thought it was supposed to just be for people that bought it digitally. I didn't. I have it physically. So I don't know if it's like because I played it immediately after launch or I've got achievements for finishing it. Microsoft just sent me an email like, hey, we're giving you Reloaded. Here you go. I'm like, okay. Like, thanks.
That's how I got it actually as well.
Oh, okay, cool.
I did actually get a code for it.
But the benefit of that is I can play that on PC now, which I could play some of the first ones, but I ended up loading this on my Xbox, which played great. But I also loaded it onto my Legion Go, my handheld. And even though it gives me a little warning at the very beginning when I launch it saying like, you're not up to specs, the game runs fine. Like, it's really nice on there. I was actually going through playing a couple of levels while running it. And I'm probably more likely, I'm not going to be hitting the full 60 FPS, but it's definitely hitting probably like 30 or higher in that range. So I try and lock it down to around 30, and that's fine for me on a handheld. Because that's how the original Gears was 30 FPS too, if you remember. So it's kind of nice. I'm playing it that way. Because you're right, it is very similar to Ultimate Edition. There's some lighting changes, some cleaner textures. You're running it in 4K. It's being scaled up to 4K better. Mm-hmm. I can't really take advantage of the 120 FPS mode, the 120 hertz, because while my TV supports it, all the hookups and stuff I have between it don't. My 20 HDMI switch and all that other stuff only handles up to 60. So I have to kind of limit it to that unless I run a cable right to the TV, which oddly enough, my capture card will handle 120. So I guess I should just run another cable. But either way, I have it on my PC, and I'm using a 4070 Ti, so it plays well. But my 4K monitor is limited to 60 hertz as well, because I got it for color accuracy, not high frame rate. For photo editing. That was more important to me. But I'm enjoying it. I'm finding a lot of the stuff. I'm going back through and getting a lot of my achievements again. Because I think you had mentioned this or were asking about it. This does not carry over your achievements from Ultimate Edition. Even though the list is the same, it is treated as a separate game. Which we had theories on that we talked about. Do you remember what we said about those?
So I think I realized what my mistake was is because it said something about carrying over achievements, but what I think I've realized is that it carries over your achievements to PlayStation for the trophies. If you sign in with your Microsoft account. And so actually, like, for instance, say you play through the whole game on Xbox, you sign into your Microsoft account on Gears of War Reloaded for PlayStation, you have the entire campaign unlocked because it will pull over your saves and stuff. So when I loaded up my PlayStation or whatever, it was just like ding, 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 with like trophies, stuff that I've already gotten.
That happened with ZZZ when I downloaded it on Xbox, and it finally caught up, and Xbox was like, you got all these achievements from PlayStation for playing this far in the game, and I was like, hell yeah.
I think Minecraft was doing that too when I was switching between systems. It was just like, you've got this, and that, and comes
I guess my question to both of you guys is there a seriously ... remastered achievement in there?
It's not remastered, but there is a seriously in there.
Nice.
People were hoping that they would have changed it though, because that was killed 10,000 people in multiplayer. Not just in the game.
That's so many.
Gears 2 and Gears 3 fixed that.
Yep, I think this one's still multiplayer.
Yeah.
So
the trophy / achievement list is identical to the first game. They didn't change anything.
I think, like I said, part of the reason because they treat this as its own title. But I do like the fact that, because we've had problems with this with a bunch of games not including any of the creators list. Like look at Metroid Prime Remastered, which is a great game, but didn't include the creators from the original version. Mm-hmm. But this one in Reloaded has the credits for Reloaded. It has all the credits for Ultimate Edition and all the credits for the original release. They included all 3 versions in there, so everybody is credited for making it. But also because it's on PlayStation and it's kind of a new start for a lot of these, because let's be honest, they'll probably make the other games. This is just to start off PlayStation on it because they're new to it.
I think it's also because I think E-Day's definitely coming to PlayStation.
Oh, 100%.
And I think this just all but confirmed that. And so they want to give PlayStation people a taste and be like, hey, this is what happened in the first game. E-Day takes place right before it.
Yep. You get a lot of hints of that in the game of what happened too. So,
yeah.
So yeah, we'll see. I'm not against if they're going to bring Gears of War, bring all of it. I mean, bring over 2, 3, bring over Judgment because it may not have been the best, but it was still a fun game. Like bring all of that stuff over. Do you think we'll get what was the RTS? Gears Tactics.
Gears Tactics. It was turn based. It's actually really good. It's basically just XCOM, but in Gears, and it's actually like
we get
really,
the Funko
really good.
Pop Gears again?
Oh, I don't think that ever even made it out. That got canceled.
They made it on mobile, but it got shut down. Weren't making any money off of it.
No, they weren't. It was a rough one. But yeah, Reloaded I've really enjoyed. Sounds like you've enjoyed it as well. We'll get some co-op in there. Hopefully next week we can talk about that some. But then we have more zombie games. I put her in here somewhere. Here it is. Later on, we've got World War Z Aftermath. So we'll be going from zombie game to zombie game. Just so many zombies that we're killing. So, all right, let's get into the news for this week. So first off, we're going to be doing some Lego Batman corrections. We talked about this last week and I found out a few things, and I'm going to be adding stuff like this because yes, I'm that excited to play more Batman games. And this one is just a nerdy dream come true for me. So deal with it. You're going to hear about it. So we found out, Steven, you were correct. There were 100 suits in the game, but they're not 100 Batman suits. Yeah, I know. You're so upset now. 35 of them will be Batman, which is still a lot of Batman suits, even if you consider all the movie suits and what seems like the animated series ones, because Batman the Animated Series, Brave and the Bold, and Batman Beyond have been shown or hinted at. But the other 65 are going to be spread out between the different playable characters like Gordon, Catwoman, Batgirl, Robin, Nightwing, things like that. They did confirm that basically all of the movie Batmobiles will be included, where they've shown hints of a lot of them, including like the Batman versus Superman one and stuff like that. But a lot of the TV and cartoon ones and comic book ones will be included too. So the Batman the Animated Series Batmobile will be there, which is the one I really wanted. We got confirmation of the 66 Batmobile, which is great because that red and black is such a classic design for a lot of that. I'm very curious to see if they do pull comic book ones, which ones they are. And I have one request of one that I really want that is kind of a long shot. I want the one from Super Friends, because that was my very first Batmobile toy when I was a kid. That little 2 orange pod, blue and black one from the cartoon that I had as a child. My little brother broke the ram off the front of it because it had a little part that would shoot out to ram into things. But I found a boxed original version of it I bought a couple of years ago that I have now to get back in my collection. The box is in rough shape. I can take the car out anytime, but it's kind of neat just to have it. I really hope that one's in there. Lastly, we did find out, or not lastly, but next up, 3 combat difficulties, not just the 2. So they're doing Classic, Caped Crusader, and Dark Knight. The main difference is the lower the difficulty, the lower 2 have unlimited lives. The highest one has a limited amount. And then you just get more enemies as you go up. And then also the higher end, like stronger enemies, more of them show up in each one. So barely any of them, a good amount, and then a bunch, basically. So I kind of like that. Dark Knight is basically playing a straight up Arkham game, like the combat, all the mechanics. The Riddler trophies are going to be in there, I think, for all of them, but he is going to be included. And then lastly, for the vehicles, because I wondered about this, Batman's, shown the Batmobile and the Bat motorcycle and stuff like that, but all of the different playable secondary characters are going to have their own vehicles. But the only ones we know of is Gordon's, who's going to have a GCPD SWAT van as like his big one, a GCPD police cruiser, and then lastly a GCPD police motorcycle. So that makes me wonder, like, which vehicles Robin and Nightwing are going to have. Hopefully Robin's motorcycle's in there, the Red Robin, because that was always in there for a lot of it, or whatever they called it. I have no idea what the hell Catwoman's going to have. She doesn't normally have a car, so who knows? But yeah, I'm still excited for Lego Batman. I hate that I have to wait till next year, but I really want to play it. All right, let's move on, because I think you guys don't want to talk about Batman anymore. You're all staring at me quietly.
Holy jinkies, Batman.
Jeez. Thanks. All right, moving on. All right, so we've had this whole issue coming up about Nintendo and their dev kits for the Switch 2 kind of being hard to find. Well, multiple developers actually spoken with Digital Foundry's John Linneman at Gamescom 2025, where he was told that developers are not only struggling to get Switch 2 dev kits, but Nintendo's apparently encouraging teams to ship with their titles on the Switch 1 and to, quote, rely on backwards compatibility. So I'm not really sure why Nintendo is doing this. It's kind of a
or
weird.
if they're doing this. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get into some more details on that. I know you had some stuff to cover for it as well. The other thing is like Digital Foundry's Oliver McKenzie. He had some other stuff he was talking about. He was previously told that, quote, there were some weird exclusions with some big developers struggling to get kits for games. And then we're getting like some larger publishers, Capcom, EA, Sega, Square Enix, and others are getting development kits because we're seeing games announced and coming out for them. There's other, some smaller indie devs, but there's other larger devs that are wanting to make Switch 2 games. They're publicly saying they want to, but they are not able to get them. And no one kind of knows why. I think the biggest draw for the not the biggest draw, but like one of the examples of this, there's a game announced called Mousework from Nitrome. They're working on it for a Switch 2 release. I think it's a Switch 2 exclusive game. And they've shown off trailers showing how it works using the mouse controls. But even they stated they can't give a release date because they haven't been able to get a dev kit from Nintendo, even they've requested it multiple times. And they're trying to get it. That way they can finalize the game, make sure it's working properly, and actually publish. So, Steven, I know you had some other updates for this, so I'll let you talk about some of those.
Yeah, this week, apparently there was an alleged developer who wrote into a section of the Jeff Gertzman show. He used to be in Giant Bomb.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a section of his show where he reads emails. And apparently this developer supposedly elaborated on the dev kit situation by saying, and I quote, so my understanding is that Nintendo is not giving out dev kits freely because they do not want third-party devs and publishers to ship many games on Switch 2 this year. There are secondary concerns about security and piracy as well, but I work for a well-known publisher with good relationships at NOA and NOE, and we've been kept at arm's length, had requests for dev kits for our partners delayed, etc. We've been explicitly been asked by Nintendo not to ship Switch 2 SKUs until a date in early 2026. They never give 100% clear reasoning, but the implication we've gotten is just they don't want a lot of third-party games releasing in 2025. Essentially, they don't want to tamp down on releases outside of first-party games and a small handful of very high-profile third-party games. This is a concerted effort on their part I've been aware of since at least last year, and they've made a very conscious effort to keep Switch 2 releases to a minimum for the first 9-ish months, stating that they want to start, giving out the first half of next year dev kits to everybody, hopefully.
Okay. So it's an interesting take on that, trying to control the amount of games coming out, because I know Nintendo's been working on stuff. We're still waiting on a few more titles from them, specifically like Metroid Prime 4. We still don't have a release date for that. God, I hope we finally get one in September to at least know when this is coming out, because we're running out of 2025.
There's probably heavy NDAs for people to give like what's actually happening. It's just I see this as just a lot of people expressing their frustration because something new is out and they can't make anything for it.
It still feels like kind of a weird
It's
thing,
like,
but
you gotta believe what you gotta believe. Like, some of these people might just be talking out of their butt because they didn't get approved for one, but others might be put in a long queue because out of all the ones they've shipped to customers, where are they making the dev kits, and how are those affected by tariffs getting sent all over the place and stuff like that? Because where are the dev kits made and produced? We know the systems themselves are produced in at least 3 or 4 different locations, but if the dev kits are straight from Japan, especially now with the new Dave Minimis, whatever they call it, BS tariff that happened, a lot of people have halted shipping until things get fixed, because there was recently a ruling saying all of this was stupid. So we're going to see if they take it down.
It's straight up called unconstitutional, because tariffs are supposed to be sent by Congress and voted on, not by just presidential action and whim. So that's kind of changing the law for that as well. But on the side of the actual development kits, do we see a reason or logic to the fact of Nintendo limiting the amount of games kind of being pushed out in 2025 to the beginning of 2026?
if I'm in Nintendo's shoes, and I'm not
Mm-hmm.
talking as myself as a fan, if I'm talking as if I'm working for Nintendo, um, I'm looking at getting games from the big publishers that they usually wouldn't bring to our system. I'm saying our like I'm Nintendo.
Right.
So I'm gonna reach out to Capcom, EA, especially EA, because I want all the sports because people want to play that on the go, and they're basically courting all these, saying like you'll get firsthand picks at the dev kits, but we need some of your biggest heavy hitters to come to our system to pretty much give us like a blockbuster holiday, and then we'll have like a renaissance in 2026. That's how I see it. Plus
Mm-hmm.
the fact that because a lot of the stuff is still experimental in Nintendo's side of what they're releasing, especially since they're so secretive about what's filling out the rest of the year, um, is that they don't want anything to overshadow their games, at least for the launch year, so they can just be like, things are great. It'll be interesting to see when the shareholders meeting is next, that their response to dev kits, because
That's true.
they've already done surveys about like, do you like key cards, and they're getting a lot of vitriol from that. But yeah, like in terms of marketing, it makes sense. Um, it makes me wonder how some of these things can get switched to editions, because I don't think some of these places have Switch 2 dev kits. So are they doing a Switch 2 edition by just, from what I'm finding out, optimizing a patch to unlock the frame rate? So then the Switch 2 bumps it to 60,
Right.
and the DLSS from NVIDIA takes care of the graphics. Like, what's going on? Like, what is being done there? Because it's not being uh, built specifically from the ground up for Switch 2, or it's not a huge jump.
Yeah, because it would be hard for them to test any of those without kind of guessing with it if they can't
Because
have a dev kit to test.
recently, Exit 8, which is
Mm-hmm.
becoming a movie, and I think the movie releases very soon, a game where all you do is you spot anomalies, just got a Switch 2 edition for Switch that I can upgrade for, I think, like $1,
Mm-hmm.
which is awesome. But I'm like, you're a very small indie. You've made 3 games, maybe 4. You can't have a dev kit. There's no way. Yacht Club is the only indie I know that definitely has one. But everybody else, I'm like, where are you getting yours?
Well, I'm sure the group doing Silk Song has one
Oh,
because
yeah.
they've already announced a Switch 2 one, but some people were referring to that one as like the GTA of indies or something because they announced the release date for it and other publishers started moving their games away
Yep, they
from it,
all
going like,
delayed their games
clear the
away from it.
space. Yeah. Because like I get wanting to get a lot of these bigger games on there from like EA. Like this is the first Madden that has been on a Nintendo system in generations. Like it was not on the Switch, it was on the Wii U a little bit, and stuff like that. Like it was like that's all
I
you
just
had.
don't understand how CD Projekt Red can port their game within a couple weeks and it runs marginally great, like for the most part, like pretty spot on. But then they drop the ball with Madden where you can't even get cross progression, which is like the cusp of what people want.
I think that
Um,
that comes
and it
down
runs at
to,
such a horrible frame rate that you're just like, did you optimize it yet, guys? Like, what?
well, yeah, I was going to talk about that a little bit later, but we can bring it up now. Like for CD Projekt Red, like I remember the demo that they ran, they had done that part in 8 weeks. It took them a lot longer to develop it, but regardless, the work is there. The game runs really well on the Switch too. Like it's if that's how you have to play it, it's a good way to play it. Madden, yeah, I've heard is rough. Like it's playable, but you're going to get frame spikes and stuff like that. It's one of those situations where I think it's worse for people that are being really nitpicky about it, but it's not ideal. But it's still like EA needs to fix that and then do that. But they had some of the higher ups, like Todd Sweeney and them over on Epic. They were talking specifically about like Unreal games, Unreal 5, because those have been running really poorly on the Switch 2. And they came out and said it's not the software that's doing it, it's the developers that are not taking that time to optimize, like you said. They're
I I actually agree with that, because
Well, he had some pretty good examples too that kind of
because the best example they can give is Fortnite on Switch 2 is Unreal Engine 5 and runs like a dream. So it's like you guys are getting antsy to get your sales and you're not optimizing your games.
Well, he said part of the problem is developers, instead of optimizing for the low end and then building up, they're optimizing for the highest end PS5 Pro high end PCs, and then just trying to force it down and going, well, like it ran great up here. This is what we're going to show it off, but we're not putting the work in to make the other people, the normies, the lower end players.
Yeah, because he went on to say like because of like the surge in these like going from a beefier thing to like a portable Legion Go, Rogue Xbox Ally, and stuff like that. You wanted to run on those too because of the portability aspect. And he's just like, we will be putting out patches, classes, little things to help people do that kind of downshift because even with the Xbox Series S, people need that optimization.
Yeah, and you can really tell like developers nowadays are just kind of throwing stuff out there. And like one of our examples we were going to have during the Speedrun, Black Myth Wukong launched on Xbox recently, and that is a surprisingly rough port. Like they just kind of threw it on there, adjusted a few things and said, okay, it's good enough, go. And unless you're running on like the graphical high-end fidelity modes, which has got the lower frame rate, a lot of the visual features are just turned off. Like just outright, they just turned them off.
They turned off darkness.
Yeah. Because like where it's supposed to have, using that, not quite ray tracing, but global illumination lighting and stuff like that, or shadows, they just shut it off for performance modes. And it's just like the game doesn't have anything to replace it with. It doesn't have normal mapping and stuff like that. So it just looks bad.
So the inside of the cave looking the same as the outside is jarring.
Yeah. So they said it's pretty comparable when you're doing the graphical mode, when it turns things on, it's like it is looking nice. It's running how it's supposed to, but people are going to be wanting to try and run it on performance mode and they're missing a lot. Like it just looks bad. And even they said it's not an Xbox issue versus PlayStation. The Xbox is more than capable. It's the developers just got it out the door. Like, they had this window of time where it was PlayStation exclusive unofficially. And it seems like they didn't really do much on the Xbox side. And they're like, oh shit, our due date's tomorrow where we can release it. Go update something and send it out. So, and we know that can work well because you had, what was it? What was the Kojima game, Death Stranding? That got released like right on the anniversary out of the blue for Xbox, and it runs great. Like it looks good and it runs fine. Like it can be done correctly. So I don't know. I'm curious to see. All right, let's go on to our next little bit of Nintendo. Well, actually, this is a little bit of a different one from LightSpeed here. All right, so LightSpeed Japan Studio, the studio led by Devil May Cry 5 and Dragon's Dogma series director Hideki Itsuno, has announced the establishment of an Osaka office in addition to its Tokyo office, as well as the recruitment of Capcom game veterans Bingo Moriyashi, Daigo Ikeno, and Gouda Cheese.
Yeah.
Did you put Gouda Cheese just to make me read that, or is that actually the guy's name?
Okay, so why?
Because I don't know.
Why this is big news is Bingo Moriyashi is a scenario writer who will work as the narrative lead on their games. He worked on Devil May Cry series, Dragon's Dogma. Daigo Ikeno is the illustrator who basically is the Street Fighter 3 Third Strike guy, and he worked on Devil May Cry 2, 3, 5, and Street Fighter 4, so that's another Devil May Cry guy.
Yeah, you hear a lot about Daigo.
And then Gouda Cheese is his pseudonym because the name he's known for is Bengus, and Bengus is basically the Darkstalkers guy. Ooh. So he's no longer at Capcom either. He was the Darkstalkers Marvel vs. Capcom basically character designer.
How did Chris take that news?
He's just like, well, I hope they make a game that's a successor, because this is kind of what helped with when Nintendo switched around what people worked on what franchise, except for one poor guy who's working on Zelda Forever. This guy said he's done all he could do with Devil May Cry, and he knew that as soon as he finished Dragon's Dogma 2, which he said he did all he could do with that one, that he would probably be tapped to make the next Devil May Cry, and he didn't want that. So after 20 years at Capcom, he left and established this studio, saying like, I want to make something I want to make, because if anything, that Claire Obscure game is like lighting a fire in some of these developers, saying, I don't want to be known as that guy. I want to make something else. So he's going to look into making an action game akin to Devil May Cry, and he's like, I know I'll be competing with the eventual next game in that series, but I'm all for it. He really would like to make Capcom versus SNK 3, which got a lot of people excited. He would have to get the license from Capcom to do it, because he's the guy who worked on Capcom vs. SNK 1. He worked on Power Stone. This guy did all the obscure, fun-ass Capcom games. So these are big-time Capcom guys that are no longer at Capcom. So you want to see what they're making. He said no, he will not work with Kamiya because they would fight too much. But he welcomes just having another person to make action games alongside of. But he's got ideas that he can finally now bring to fruition, especially with the top veterans he has working with him now. So it shook up Capcom, but not really. It's just like, we can still work with Capcom, but Capcom's now missing 3 to 4 key people.
I think this is good though, with all of the all the developers and things we've seen kind of gobbled up by especially Microsoft and a lot of these other big companies recently, to see, like, I think this is good for both of them, because they're branching off to get to do more of what they want to do, starting a new company. That's going to bring out more people and train people and bring in more styles of games and grow those. But it's also going to make Capcom, like I said, they're not losing everybody, which means new people will be able to come up and get into these places and may bring out new series at Capcom that we may not have gotten before, or maybe new takes on their actual IPs and what they're focusing on. So both of them are good. It's like taking care of plants. You'll do clippings to start new plants, but it also helps the health of the original plant, because, those get a chance to grow somewhere else and it can kind of go.
Yeah, I see this as like a Platonic situation where you have veterans that establish a new company, and then they're making more of what they love, but they have more freedom to do so. So that's why we're getting like another Yuka Replay, and we're getting it for Switch 2, all full on cart and stuff like that. Which they actually announced that if you own the first one digitally on the eShop, which it's only $3 right now, so buy it, they'll give you 30% off the Replay version. So I was like, I might do that.
I'm going to get it physically no matter what. So,
well, no, I'll be getting that too, because support the all on carts. But
right.
To get 30% off a game as well, I was like, maybe I'll just get it digital as well, because if the first one's only $3 right now.
Because the Yuka Replay, is that Switch 2 only, or was that Switch 1 and 2?
I can't remember, but at least for the physical, it's Switch 2 only.
Okay. Because I know some of these, like I said, my Kirby and the Forgotten Land and a lot of the Switch 2 games, or Switch 2 edition games, you can put the cart in an original Switch and it just plays the original Switch version. Like, I could put this in my Switch 1 and play Kirby and the Forgotten Land just fine. I just don't have access to the higher frame rate. And then
you might have to look into it. It might be a Switch 2 edition, so it might be both. But yeah,
I don't know. There's only been some third parties we've already got only some third parties doing full cartridges, and then an even smaller percentage of that's doing where it can be
either way, like
1 and 2.
Platonic's got to share their secret with Square and everybody else, because that game's only going to be $30 full on cart. So they can't say, those carts are really expensive, because it's like Platonic's eating the cost. That company, okay.
Well, I mean, we were talking about CD Projekt Red with with Cyberpunk. They said out of all the sales, like, they had a huge amount of sales on the Switch 2, 75% of them were physical purchases. Everybody wanted that on an actual cartridge, and that's a huge amount that are playing it, that bought it. So yeah, people want to buy them. There is a reason for it. So who knows? But another good reason for physical carts, let's go ahead and talk about that bit here. Japan's National Diet Library has stated that Nintendo Switch 2 game key cards are not eligible for preservation. So the NDL does not have the means to archive digital titles, but also aren't able to by law in Japan. The law was amended before, which allowed for the archiving and preservation of digital books and magazines. So another amendment would be required for the NDL to even attempt this for digital titles. But I think that's a good message to send out. You know, they're saying like, look, we cannot preserve these games because of legal reasons and because they're not on the cartridge. It's just a hunk of plastic. We're not going to keep that. So that kind of brings up a lot of the air for preservation and stuff as well, for people in regards to these titles. I was going to see if you guys had any thoughts on this as well in the relationship of that with preservation.
I don't know if people are just, I'll say this just as myself, is that I don't know if people are just hungry for Nintendo news, because it wasn't until the year of our Lord 2025 I've even heard of the Japan's National Diet Library. So somebody had to dig deep to just be like, hey, guess what? I hate keycards so much that even this library that no one's ever heard of or brought up until now is not taking the key cards. I'm like, well, are they taking copies of Doom the Dark Ages? Because that's a disk installer. So it's like, or are you just focusing on the Nintendo side? And I was just like, you know,
I
whatever.
think
It's whatever. Yeah, it's something that it happened. So it's just like, look how bad these are. It's like, yeah, it is what it is.
I don't think it's so much of like them trying to villainize or, you know, say these should not exist. It's just they're saying, hey, we're, you know, part of this national group that's trying to preserve games that, you know, keeps copies of a lot of these. We can't do these because they're not actually there. I think that's more of how it is, you know, if they're able to kind of do it with digital books and so forth, because that amendment was done. Even if they got to do it for digital titles, they still got to work with Nintendo or whatever company in order to do it. I don't have details on how they make choices for like PS5. Do they even bother with Xbox games? You know, it's Japan. They barely know they
Yeah,
exist.
because I know like Capcom says that they will count their keycard sales as digital sales.
Makes sense. But I think it seems like these guys focus on physical, and I think they're just having to kind of draw that line because people are probably asking them what they're doing, and they just made a statement, which is why it got covered by stuff. And I agree, there are people that do kind of lose it about key cards. And we've had this discussion before. Like, I'm okay with key cards, but I think my problem is they're overused. Like, they have a place to be used. You know, Madden being a key card, whatever. That's a game that's going to be updated. I didn't even care that Street Fighter 6 was a key card because we already knew you weren't getting everything, and they still screwed that up by putting a code in there. But, you know, it was supposed to be an option for larger games and things for publishers to do it. And some of them, I think we can all agree, are abusing the hell out of it. Square Enix. So we'll see.
Yeah, because like,
So
I think I'll be more negative about game key cards if I see that, especially with the news that there were some manufacturers that trademarked that other cards were coming, like smaller sizes.
I hope so.
So with that news coming out, stating it was for like having more variety of game cart file sizes, I think when those options are there, if they don't have a good excuse for using a key card, I'm going to be more like giving them the evil eye, saying, "What are you guys doing this for?" Because if they have a nice cheap 16 gig cart for you, Square, maybe you should be putting Bravely Default on a game cart.
That would be nice, because I wanted to add Bravely Default to my collection. I have the other ones too, so we shall see. JC, anything on this one?
First of all, I did have one question. So the National Diet Library, is that like their national, like their main library?
I think it's the closest thing to like the Library of Congress.
Yeah, because
like,
the Japanese Parliament is called the National Diet.
So I don't think it's like one of those where it's like an actual library, because people, there's some idiots out there who think Library of Congress means you can borrow stuff out of there and read it and stuff like that, or remove it. And it's just there to preserve it, to say it's in there.
Yeah.
So I think that's what they're doing, is saying like that exists so people don't forget about it.
There's places you can go in there to read things, but you're not leaving with it, and not everything is accessible. Yeah. So it's definitely like,
Well, yeah, I think you're right, Chase. It is the equivalent of like Library of Congress.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm not necessarily the key card. I'm not really on the either side of the key card debate. Doesn't really bother me. Doesn't really affect me super much, I don't think. So, but yeah, I think Swan's right. I think people are probably just kind of grasping for straws right now because they're just so mad at key cards.
Like I said, I can see, like, when I saw this article, you know, these people talk about a lot of Nintendo stuff. I don't think they were trying to just push that out. It was just, if a Library of Congress came out and said, like, we're not we're not making backup, we're not preserving this format for this reason, some people would talk about that. Like, if they were doing, you know, types of movies that are only being released on a format of DVD that it's not there, you put it in and you have to download it. You know, I don't think they even can back up like Netflix stuff or stuff like that unless they're given it a physical copy.
Yeah.
But even then they have to kind of vote to have it in there. They don't just put everything in it. It has to be brought in. And I don't know if that's the same thing that this group does. It probably is. So it may be just they were getting so many requests. They were like, look, we can't do these. We're going to put this statement out and kind of nip it in the bud now. That this is why we will not consider these games.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And I think some of these are just to stir conversation and debate, whether it be healthy or unhealthy, because I can say even on a more pleasant battleground, I'll say, such as Blue Sky, I've seen the National Diet Library and Gamescom developers reposted or posted by different accounts, maybe like over a dozen times, when the LightSpeed I saw by like one company talk about it. And I'm like, that's big news. To talk about the National Diet Library and to say that Gamecom developers don't have a kit, that's one thing. It's
right.
a thing to say Warframe devs, Marvel Rival devs are waiting for one. That's good to hear, because you're knowing like, oh, some big people want to put it out there.
Yeah, the Marvel Rival ones.
But when it's just a generic statement, it's just, you know, what are you trying to get at? Are you trying to just be first? Because I'm getting sick of the news wanting to be first, and I'm like, just do your due diligence instead.
Like I said, the reason I included it is because I think stuff like this for preservation is interesting to at least discuss. I'm not trying to make arguments one way or the other. You know, we've had our talks about that, but to me, in regards to preservation, I like at least mentioning it. So, all right, let's move on to our next little bit, which I'll shut up for a while because this one, holy Chase wishes to talk about this. So take it away, Chase.
All right.
Give us the sermon, good sir.
Do we like Space Marine 2? Of course we do.
We do.
Well, do you want more Space Marine 2? Of course you do.
We do.
We're getting more Space Marine 2.
Woohoo!
So Space Marine...
I didn't get the answer.
Saber
waited.
recently put out a video saying that Space Marine 2 is getting year 2 updates. They, starting with patch 10 which is coming out on September 4th. I was like, that's not that far away. Holy crap.
That's like Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, I think.
So they were like, patch 10, September 4th. Patch 11's quarter 4 of this year. Patch 12, 13's quarter 1, 2026. Patch 14 and 15's quarter 2, 2026. So, I mean, they're pumping out the content still. In all of that, we're getting 4 new PvE missions, new PvE stratagems, which is just the operations mode, but now they're adding modifiers to the game. A new PvE mode called Hellbrute Onslaught. I'm kind of curious to see how that one goes. I'm assuming that's going to be like if you get enough, like it's basically
playable Hellbrute though.
Yeah, you play as the Hellbrute. I'm assuming it's going to be like a kill streak type thing.
I think each side might get one, but I wanted to ask you specifically to kind of explain to the listeners what a Hellbrute is, if you don't mind. That's why I wanted you to talk about this, because it's like, you know a lot of the history, and I love hearing people get excited and talk about something they love. So,
okay, so to try to keep it semi-short, because you could dive down a rabbit hole in this thing. So
we will eventually have an extra quarter on this stuff. We are working on it.
Yeah, we should do actually. So the Hellbrute is part of the Chaos faction for the Chaos Space Marines, which is basically a group of Space Marines that decided to go against the Imperium. They betrayed the Imperium and they decided to join the forces of Chaos. And so things like, for instance, the Hellbrute is basically like the Chaos version of the regular Astartes Dreadnought. The Astartes Dreadnought is basically like a Space Marine who is injured or close to death, basically like on the brink of death, but they bring him back, they put him in a stasis pod, and they basically put him in this giant hulking sarcophagus that happens to also have arms and legs and really big guns and can just absolutely like menace things. The Hellbrute is a lot like, you thought that was dark, and the Hellbrute gets darker because it's literally like somebody that some poor sap that they just throw into one of these things, and he's just basically like molded into it. Like he's just part of it now, and he's just in constant pain and angry all the time.
Yeah, these are the most violent versions of the joke of like, even when you die, you still have to show up for work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to be fair, there is no good guy in Warhammer 40k. There's just evil and less evil. It's like
and very much more evil. I'm sure those are in there too.
Exactly. So the Hellbrute is essentially just some guy that's like been with the magic and chaos that is the warp, just molded into this machine. And yeah, so now you get to actually play as one. Like, we've got to kill them plenty of times, but now we actually get to play as one. So I'm curious to see how they pull that off. I'm assuming it's going to be some type of like kill streak-esque thing, or like you build up a meter and then you can become one. The other question I have though is that if you're playing as just the regular Astartes Space Marine side, do you get to just play as a Dreadnought? Because with it being a PvP mode, that would be interesting.
We should know by Tuesday.
Yeah, hopefully. So moving on, they're also adding 3 new PvP arenas. So that'll be nice, because that's something a lot of people have been asking for, is more maps. New weapons being the Pyre Blaster, the Pyre Cannon. Pyre Blaster is just basically the smaller version of the Pyre Cannon. The Pyre Cannon is what the heavies carry. The Power Axe, people are really happy about that. People have been wanting that since day dot. And I kind of get it, because Space Marine 1 had it. So everybody's like, why don't we have this?
You already did it. Just bring it over.
And it also makes sense for certain chapters too, because for instance, like if you want to play as like a Space Wolf, then you want a Power Axe, because that's what they use a lot of. So I get it. This one actually is new to me. I'll have to look this one up. The Xenophase Blade looks almost kind of like Necron-ish.
Yeah, it was like black and green, like glowing green lines and stuff. Through it. Yeah, it was neat looking.
Yeah, it does look neat, but I need to actually look more onto that. And then the Combi Melta. So that one's interesting, because basically, I think that's going to essentially be like a Melta gun, which we already kind of have in the game. But I wonder if it's going to be the same as like the bolt rifles that have the grenade launcher, where when you click the right stick, you can use the grenade launcher attachment, because that's what a Combi Melta is. It's basically a bolter with a Melta attachment on it. So that's going to be that's actually going to be a really interesting weapon.
And they did announce, like, I listed the 5 that were here, but they said there will be more than this. That's just the ones they gave examples for. So we're getting other weapons too.
Yeah. There's going to be some new enemy types. There's going to be a Chaos Spawn and a Mutalith Vortex Beast. Both of them are Chaos enemies, so that's going to get added to the Thousand Suns.
The Chaos Spawn looked like it was straight out of Diablo. I saw that and I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, it looks almost kind of like a Warhammer Fantasy. They have the Beastmen,
Hmm.
and it kind of almost looks like that, but that he's got like these bony, like fleshy, mostly bony wings. And so I'm curious to see how they'll get added into the treasure trove of chaos enemies already there. And I'm also looking forward to the executions that we'll get to do. Because I imagine that they're going to be entertaining.
At least one of them, we have to pull those horns out and like stab it with it, Doom style, right? Like it just has to
Oh,
happen,
it has
or
to
at least
happen.
pull it down to the ground and like shove an axe in its head or something.
Yeah, when they did
This game is full of love, kids.
yes, I thought it was awesome when they added more executions just further on, because like for instance the one that I love is when you just literally just take your arms and just smash the space where he just poof, he just breaks apart. This is great.
My favorite is still the timing, like when one of the little enemies jumps at you, just grab it out of the air and just slam it down. Like, no.
Yeah, those are the little guys definitely get shot on quite a bit in this game.
I like shattering them with the glove too, where it's like you hit them and like the head comes off, but the body goes further. It's almost cartoonish, but it's realistic. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is great.
Oh, that game is so much fun.
People who are big into the Chaos factions, they'll be happy because Chaos are finally getting armor packs. So that was something that they've always kind of been. They kind of neglected the Chaos peeps a lot.
Those look like it was kind of like it wasn't like a living armor, but it looked almost like it had like bone structure and stuff kind of molded into it. I wasn't sure on those, but
yeah, the Chaos armors, Chaos in general, a lot of it's almost like a mix between organic and mechanical.
Oh, okay.
Just the way the warp acts and stuff. So like, for instance, there's a lot of they're not in this game, but like for instance, Terminator Marines, which feature a lot in like say the Space Hulk games and stuff. They like the Chaos variants have like tusks coming out of like the Terminator masks and stuff. So they've always kind of had this weird blend of like mechanical and organic because of like the chaos that is the warp. There's going to be new rewards and battlefield conditions because of the new stratagem mode for the PvE operations. New mission pickups. Curious to see what is all going to come from that.
What do we got to go pick up this time?
Yeah, exactly. Because right now it's mostly just like armory data and data slates. So I'm curious to see what they're going to add next. Unless it's going to be something kind of like a Guardian Relic type thing, or maybe even like a version of the Gene Seed where we get extra XP or something, like an XP booster.
Okay.
Another expansion of the Battle Barge. I'm curious to see.
We've gotten like 2 of those so far, I think.
Yeah,
I kind of wonder because like part of the map when you're right before we get on the ship, there's like a staircase that kind of goes down. I could see that maybe opening up to a new area.
Yeah, and then probably one of the biggest things that people have been waiting for. We're finally getting a new class. We're finally getting Tech Marines. Tech Marines are interesting.
Yeah, I'm curious about these.
So Tech Marines best way to describe it. You know how on the Battle Barge, how you see like the guys in the red robes, the Adeptus Mechanicus?
Mm-hmm.
Essentially because Space Marines operate in chapters, and what they do is they like to be fairly independent. Quite a few of them do anyway. So what they tend to do is, because they don't necessarily have like a bunch of humans and like Adeptus Mechanicus on standby to just repair everything for them. If they need a tank repaired or if they need armor repaired, things like that, they actually need people that can do that. So what they do is they send some Marines to say like Mars or to like some of these Forge worlds, and they actually get trained by the Adeptus Mechanicus how to work on things, how to convene with the machine spirit because everything kind of has like this religious like gothic undertone in Warhammer 40k. So machines have a machine spirit, and you have to convene with the machine spirit to make it happy so that way it'll work. Essentially is the best way to describe it.
So these are really violent engineers.
Yeah, essentially. So the Tech Marines get sent to the Adeptus Mechanicus, and they learn from them over decades of time, and then they come back as clad in like red armor as a Tech Marine. They usually have like little probe arms that can operate independently as well. And then they also have a really big axe. Omnissiah's axe, as it's called.
In my axe.
Basically. So they're essentially, like, if you were playing the tabletop game, some people field Tech Marines, but they're typically, if they're fielding Tech Marines, it's because they have vehicles with them, because they buff the vehicles and they can also repair the vehicles. So that's a way to kind of explain it in layman's terms. They're also coming out with paid content, another Season Pass 2.
Yeah, I'd like to mention that everything he's mentioned so far has been the free update. Now we're getting into paid stuff.
And all the paid stuff is they're sticking to their guns. All the paid stuff's still cosmetic. They haven't hidden anything behind the paywall. I'm giving them credit where credit's due, because they've so far stuck to their word. So all of your paid content over the years is going to be cosmetic, and it's going to be the Black Templars Champion Pack, the Imperial Fist Cosmetic Pack, Blood Angels are getting a Champion Pack, Salamanders are getting a cosmetic pack, Raven Guard's getting a Champion Pack.
Redacted.
He's getting to it.
I'm gonna try to not mess up this name. Carcharodons, yes, they're getting a cosmetic pack. Carcharodons. So most Space Marine chapters have a theme. Carcharodons are interesting because they're basically Shark Marines.
What?
They're shark themed, and if a Space Marine, because sometimes, so in the lore, some Space Marine chapters, because they're basically super soldiers that are derived from the gene seed of their Primarch.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that stuff doesn't necessarily go the best, and sometimes there can be some mutations and things that come out of that.
We get printer errors.
Exactly. Carcharodons are one of those things. They're loyalists. They're still loyal to the Imperium, but they're Shark Marines. They literally, like, if you take your helmet off, they have almost kind of not necessarily fish-like features, but they actually have like a mouthful of razor-sharp teeth, just like a shark.
Like Baraka?
Not quite to that extent, but yes.
That's certainly a level. Jesus.
But they also, so for instance, like Space Wolves are like Viking themed. Everything's about like wolves, and the name of their homeworld is Fenris, and they some of them even actually can transform into wolves, like actual wolf people, like it's over time. And that's why I said they use the power axes, because everything's mostly Viking themed.
Right.
Carcharodons tend to have almost like Polynesian-esque tattoos, things like that on them. So they kind of are in the like Polynesian theme stuff, but they're badasses. So they're pretty cool. They've got kind of a cult following. The people that do actually table them, they love them. So
nice.
Iron Hands are getting some love. They're getting a chapter pack, so that's good to see. They're one of the founding chapters. So back when they weren't chapters, they were legions. There was the Iron Hands. So it's good to see them getting some love. They have a redacted champion pack. So I'm curious to see who this is going to be.
Do you have theories?
Well, with it being redacted, I wonder if it's going to be one of the more... I wonder if it's going to be one of the more obscure ones, like either the Exorcists or the Minotaurs.
Ooh.
Basically, there's some Space Marine chapters who work pretty much with the Inquisition, which is like the secret police of the Imperium.
Does anybody expect them?
I don't know. I actually haven't because like they are.
I got it, Steven.
Oh, damn you! I just got it.
Nobody expects the Imperium Inquisition.
Yeah, actually,
See, they meant to do that.
yep.
Well done, Steven.
But I think the Minotaurs and the Exorcists are there in like the color palette and stuff and the emblems. But I wonder if this is going to be an actual like we're going to get a proper champion pack because the Minotaurs are basically like space Spartans, and the Exorcists, as you can probably tell by their name, they literally just spend their times hunting and destroying chaos. Like that's what they specialize in.
Nice.
So. And then also the Raptors are getting a cosmetic pack. The Raptors, for people that do enjoy them, they're like a very like hit and run guerrilla style tactical esque chapter. They featured quite heavily in a piece of Warhammer lore called the Badab War, which actually the Karkanon's featured in quite a bit too. So there's so much lore and so much stuff out there. Like I can't do it justice, honestly, but it is a fun and amazing universe to be
I think
in.
we were wondering how in depth you were going to go when you started breaking books out earlier. I was like, oh boy. I'm just waiting for let me turn to the chapter of the Karkarons.
I can't honestly do it justice. A really good there's some really good lore channels out there. Arbiter Ian, I recommend highly to a lot of people. I think he actually did a couple videos with IGN as well, not that long ago.
Oh, nice.
Where they brought him in and he answered fan questions.
So I think the last thing, have they said how much the season pass is going to be? Did anybody know? Because I didn't see it anywhere.
I'm trying to remember what the last one was, what the first one was.
I think it was like 20 bucks.
I'm going to guess it's going to be like 20 just because it's just mostly cosmetic.
Yeah.
I'm still shocked at like how much of this, because I was worried when it said season pass. I was like, oh, all right, how much are we going to pay for? I'm reading the list, and then I realized here's the start of the pay, and I went, oh, that was all free. Okay, cool. Like I'm getting that regardless.
Yeah, like I said, I'm definitely giving Saber credit. They've stuck to their guns. They haven't hidden anything behind a paywall other than cosmetics.
Yeah.
And honestly, there's people that are buying these cosmetics because they want to make their armies in, because they've got the tabletop game, they've got the armies. They want to make their armies in this game. And people are loving it.
I think it's smart to let people purchase those parts and things and do that customization, because that is the purpose of a lot of the tabletop game, from what I've seen of people, is making their armies and doing all that. So, and the fact you can actually surprisingly go in and like do paint and stuff on your stuff in the game fairly detailed. Like I've got mine, the way I designed it, all of them have the big red right hand, which is, my little reference. Yeah, well, it's the reference to the Hand of Doom from Hellboy. So all of the ones I have. So I'm like, if I ever get in, I don't think I can financially afford it, but if I ever got into Warhammer, the figures, we'd have to cancel the show because I can't pay for any of this anymore. But I would probably paint the little red right hand of Doom on a lot of my characters, because that's the design I have come to use and I like. And it's funny how organically you will kind of come up with your style while playing it, even if it's the games, not even the tabletop. Like I never thought I would sit there and think about, how do I want my armies to look? And I just did it. So
yeah, it's a hobby that I've always wanted to get into, but as you said, my bank account's just like, no, please don't.
I like other hobbies, doing things and eating, all of which are not good for Warhammer. We need a Henry Cavill bank account, and we don't have that.
He's one of the guys that gave great tips on how to paint them too, though.
Oh, I'm sure he can afford that.
But especially because of the theme of Space Marine, I was surprised to learn, because a lot of times you're painting like pewter figurines, and they said spray paint them black first. Trust me, because then when you
Yeah.
fill in the color, everything has like a shadow and grittiness to it. And they said it's night and day. That if you just try to paint over the pewter or the figurine itself versus if you spray paint them black first, it's like amazing.
you always want to have some kind of like a base coat to bring that depth in for that, and
Yeah,
also
and they were
it
like, that's
helps
the best
absorb
base
the
coat
paint.
to fix if you want it to be dark and gritty. Like that's,
I think
and they look pretty sweet.
I think my youngest son does that with his BattleTech stuff too, because that's BattleTech. While not as ridiculous as Warhammer, it's still up there for the cost and a lot of stuff. And he has so many mechs and other things, and he paints them and does all that. So I get it. But yeah, like I said, this all starts next Tuesday. So by next week, if not by the show, definitely after the show, we'll probably be playing more Warhammer again. And we'll know more, because I know that one expansion you were talking about with the Hellbrood Onslaught, that is part of the first wave. So we should have that by next week as well to play.
Yeah, this wave coming up is huge. A lot of it's because of the stratagems and stuff, but it's like, man,
that's still a lot of good stuff. So, all right, let's go over to the speed run. So after a rough showing of Elden Ring on the Switch 2 at Gamescom, Square Enix has announced that Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade will run at a stable 30 FPS. With Digital Foundry has hypothesized it might be down to the limits of the Switch 2 CPU for what was shown for Elden Ring, as that game heavily relies on the CPU on any platform. So we'll have to see. Hopefully that will be tweaked or optimized a little bit better. Next up, we have Black Myth Wukong has launched on Xbox, as we talked about earlier, and that was just really bad, but we already discussed that earlier in the show. Bungie CEO Pete Parsons has stepped down after 2 decades at the studio, with studio veteran and Destiny 2 general manager Justin Truman will take over as the new studio head. No word on exactly when this is happening. It was just announced, but we don't know if it's going to be like a right away or a phase out. But it kind of seems like Pete Parsons may have been butting heads with Sony after, they're going to be, he may be leaving Bungie while it's still Bungie, and it won't be Bungie for long. It might become something else.
Apparently he was a piece of shit.
Ah, well, that explains your clapping there, your golf clap for him going. Back to the Future is finally getting a 40th anniversary 4K release as a set or individual ones. There's going to be collector's editions coming out for pretty penny, which include like a miniature of the Gibson guitar that Marty played in the movie, as well as a lot of other stuff. But I'm probably just going to stick to the movies themselves. I'm trying to decide if I want to get the 4K. I love the movies, but I have the Blu-rays, and those are really good. Crystal Dynamics has decided to lay off parts of their team based on, quote, evolving business conditions, end quote, in order to ensure the long-term health of their studio and core creative priorities in a continually shifting market. They also oddly noted that the future of Tomb Raider will remain unaffected by this situation, which isn't going to help anyone that got laid off. So, I don't know. We'll have to see with Crystal Dynamics. And lastly, Atari announced a strategic IP agreement with Ubisoft to revive 5 acclaimed titles, which include Cold Fear, I Am Alive, Child of Eden, Grow Home, and Grow Up. Which Grow Home and Grow Up were fun. I messed around with those a little bit back in the day when they came out. Child of Eden I loved, and it was one of the few games that I only played with the Kinect because it actually felt unique and worked really well using the motion control. Like it should have been just that as an option.
I Am Alive is pretty cool because it's kind of like a Last of Us without enemies type thing, because you're surviving more in the environment. And then Cold Fear is basically another Resident Evil clone, which is nice. We'll never say no to those.
I think I've messed around with that one. It's a fun survival horror. So, all right, let's go over to the big question. All right, so the big question for this week is, with the push recently with big remakes like Gears of War Reloaded and Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta, what are some of your favorite remakes or new takes of games over the years, and what features did you enjoy, and what is a game you feel should get this kind of remake? So I'll start with this. I know I have a bunch listed here while I was thinking about it earlier today, but I'm just going to pick a couple of these for ones that I kind of remember as being major ones. And my first one's going to be kind of a double entry because it's The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, but both the DX for Game Boy Color as well as the full remake that came out on Switch, because this game, Link's Awakening, is one of my favorite 2D Zelda games, just outright. And I remember playing it on the original Game Boy, and then we got the full color remake of it on the Game Boy Color in the DX edition, which did add in some extra content. The color kind of re-enhanced a lot of things. And that's probably one of my favorite kind of remakes in that sense. That's the shortest term because it was only a few years later that it came out. But then the Switch remake, even though it ran, some people said a little rougher on the Switch, but it played fine for me. Runs really good on the Switch 2 now, but I loved the whole graphical overhaul. They kept the overhead view, made it kind of toy-like for a lot of the effects, which I thought really worked well for it, and they continued to use that engine on other top-down Zelda remakes. Of course, Resident Evil on the GameCube, I think is one of the greatest remakes that's been made, because that took the idea of the original Resident Evil from PlayStation and Saturn and completely brought it over to the GameCube with modern graphics, the 3D environment and the way the effects were, while still using the systems it was based on. It was still pre-rendered backgrounds, but now they were video and movie and moving objects and things. So it looked like it was a full 3D that was always there. The sound design was great. They had new mechanics that helped with movement. For like quick turns, you had different devices like the tasers and knives to attack or kind of get things off of you. And then there's those damn Crimson Heads. Because that whole new twist where if you did not either blow the head off the zombie or find a way to burn the bodies, which you could not find enough fuel to burn them all. That was on purpose. So you had to kind of pick where you wanted this danger not to show up. And then you did not know when they would turn again and become this screaming, running thing. And the first time I saw that, I was like, what the shit? Because I did not see that coming. Now, for games that I would like to see get a remake, I'm going to have to go back to the Resident Evil well, because I think we are well overdue for Resident Evil Code Veronica. I loved that game. I see Steven does not, because once again, as a Zenspath Entertainment Network podcast tradition, what I love, Steven hates.
I will say among Resident Evil fans, it's known as the worst one.
That would be Resident Evil 3.
No.
I'm a huge Resident Evil fan. I will say 3 is the worst one.
The remake of 3 wasn't good, though.
You're already starting with shit. You're getting shit.
You can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Exactly.
He finally threw the knife back at me. He took a good Resident Evil and he's like, it's shit. So.
Well, look, there's a reason. The only reason it was called Resident Evil 3 and Code Veronica had to have a different name was because Capcom was making Code Veronica as 3. And Sony was like, no, here's our legal agreement. You have to make this the third one. Ours has to be third. So they changed it. It was supposed to be a side story. And it could have been fine for that, but I've never really clicked with 3. I don't like it that much. And I've tried it. I have different versions of it. I even got the remake. It just doesn't work. And lastly, Transformers War for Cybertron and Fall for Cybertron. I would love to see those two come back. Just give me maybe a double pack with those two. There never was a third game. I don't care if I'm wrong on that. I know I am, but I don't want you to admit to it or care about it. It didn't happen. Just stick to these two. We're fine. All right, Steven, what about you? What is your answer for this week's The Big Question?
I was trying to think of some ones that really hit in a good way, and I think a lot of the terminology between remaster and remake is lost on some people.
Okay.
On what it entails, but I can honestly say the remakes, the actual remakes of Resident Evil 2 and 4 were awesome. 3, it's not even the same story, but 2 and 4 were fantastic.
2 was on my potential list as well, so yeah, I agree.
And I would love for them to actually, in terms of what should get a remake, 1's going to be obvious, and 2 is something that probably will never happen, but maybe will happen because of Requiem coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Is I'd like to see remasters or just even re-releases that work on modern hardware of the Outbreak series, because I want to play online Resident Evil with people, and maybe get rid of that zombie mechanic that if you get bit, you slowly are dying. Hated that. It'd be one of those quality of life improvements that would make the game so much more enjoyable. But on the other side of things, knowing what they did with Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta, where it is a shot-for-shot remake, where you can even go back to the legacy mode if you want some things to be back the way they were and stuff like that, except for the graphics, you can't go back there.
Right.
But you can put filters on them to make it look like the old stuff. And this is going to be no surprise to anyone, but I wouldn't mind just a nice little remake remaster, keeping the voice track just like Metal Gear, and giving me Snatcher, because then you can just send them all a nice little royalty check, basically like pretty up and gussy up, because visual novels are huge right now, so the time is ripe. Konami, if you're listening, you should listen and subscribe.
Switch 2 with mouse controls, man. That'd be great.
And then you can use the Joy-Cons to shoot at the screen, and Jeremy will have a really hard time getting through towards the end of the game, because it's the hardest.
I made it through it eventually.
But yeah, that one's probably the most obvious. It's like, now that I know that it can be done really well, like with Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta, while some people said, why did this have to happen, other people are appreciative of what they did.
I did find out Junior bought that, so I'll get to try it out for Metal Gear Solid 3.
Because there's people who are like, why did they change this? It was so much easier back then. And other people are just like, well, it's nice to see this in a different light, even though some of the cutscenes, because the limitations on the hardware, don't hit the same, which I can understand. Like, some people are gonna have sometimes enough change that they're gonna have the lunar effect, like me, where I hate the lunar on PlayStation and the remastered, because it's not the Sega CD version and it's not the story of the Sega CD version. So I'm one of those purists. And just like Metal Gear, you have the purist fans, and then you have the ones that are just like, oh, it's awesome that they kept all the voices, and they only had to bring back David Hayter and some of the other voice actors to change some of the lines, because there's a Godzilla line where they had to change what anniversary of Godzilla it was. So they changed the line to update it for 2024, which I thought was awesome. And I like when remakes and remasters, especially remakes, do Easter eggs. And I want to point out one that was recently found in Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta. So we know, like Kojima likes, he has all these posters of models and magazines that you can fool the guards with. So what they did was they actually sought out these models 21 years later, and they said, would you like to pose again for the posters in this game? So if you play on just the regular mode, you will see all the models from the old game, now 21 years older, and one of them even poses with her child. And they all still look great. They still have their bikini shots too, so people are still saying, like, wow, like they didn't age a day. And then for the purists, there is a legacy mode that'll revert all the posters back to the original. So I was like, that is, a neat little thing where they're taking something that couldn't be high res on something like a PS2, and now it's high res enough that you can see them crystal clear. So it's nice when they do stuff like that and they don't use AI.
Yeah, that is actually really good.
Like, don't remake or remaster your games using AI, like a lot of movies and 4K remasters are doing. So yeah, don't buy the Wallace and Gromit on 4K, because they actually did an AI upscale and it looks hard.
Yeah, I've had to get really picky on 4K movies. I found out that with like Terminator and stuff, and it ruined it for me. The last thing for part of that was Snatcher. Would you want an all 2D art update, or would you be okay if they replaced them with 3D models, if they were kind of updating some of the graphics?
If they pull a Delta and keep the voices, do whatever you need to do.
Okay. Yeah, I was just kind of wondering.
If you can make them look almost photorealistic, I'm all for that. Or if you want to make them as anime as possible, I'm all for that too. Just don't change the voices.
I kind of think the anime style would be there. Yeah.
It to just be smoother, and and to just like play that in a bigger sound system and stuff like that, instead of just Roland Sound Studio, will be great.
All right. Chase, what about you? What is your answer for this week's The Big Question?
I had to think about this one a little bit, but because
Did you hate this question?
No, I didn't.
Well, you were Steven, you were complaining about it, and I was like, I didn't call it the little question, did I?
Yeah.
I just said it was a toughie. I didn't say fuck you guys like Chase does.
I only said it to you, Swan. I don't say it to Jeremy. Oh,
What am I missing out on fuck yous? What the hell?
Okay, fine. Fuck you, Jeremy.
Yeah, thank you. I want some respect, damn it.
No respect. Anyway, so the first one that obviously came to mind isn't, and kind of also probably thanks to Gears of War Reloaded, but I'm going to say Gears of War Ultimate Edition, not Gears of War Reloaded. And the reason why is because Gears of War Ultimate Edition was the first time that fans that played it on Xbox 360 could actually access the PC chapter, the extra chapter that PC players got when it came out on PC. I think like a couple years after the Xbox 360 release.
Yep.
So you actually got the chapter with the Brumach and the Opera House before you get onto the train to launch the missile. So that, and on top of that too, Gears of War Ultimate Edition looks really good. Like that was a really big leap visually for that game.
I remember my favorite thing with that was split screen, because that was one of the early systems. If you played it on a Series or Xbox One X, you get 4K, or even on so the Xbox One S, stuff like that. You get a 4K output, but it would give you, for split screen, each person get a full 1080p screen. And back then that was great to get a full 1080, your own screen size in there for co-op. Go ahead, sorry.
So no, you're good. So that'd be my first one. My second one, I'm going to say Halo Master Chief Collection. Not because of the multiplayer, damn it. Multiplayer's ass.
But it's because you live too far away.
Yeah.
God, that was so bad.
No, it died when he was in the same goddamn central U.S.
Almost in the same zip code.
Yeah, it was terrible.
I'd rather play Smash Brothers online than Master Chief.
Wow.
The thing that I liked about, and I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like Master Chief Collection was kind of one of the first, and it's a good feature to have, but it was one of the first times I remember where you could actually say, hey, do you want to see what this game looked like in the old graphics, and then switch back to the new graphics? And being able to do that in certain areas, I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that was Halo Anniversary Edition that started with that. Or
sorry, Anniversary Edition.
Before that, Monkey Island did it, where you could press a button and the thing would come across and change it back.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I think that one came out first. They were pretty close, I think. I'll have to look that one up. I'm kind of curious. But go ahead and continue.
First one to have an on-the-fly remaster button.
Yeah, basically. So I thought Halo Master Chief Collection, where you could switch between them, I thought that was quite neat. So a couple other ones that I'll just throw out. Obviously, I'm playing through right now Soul Reaver Remastered 1 and 2. I'm really enjoying that. And also, got to give a shout out to Star Wars Republic Commando, the remaster.
Oh, yeah.
And the main reason why I'm bringing these up, it's not because there's like a feature that necessarily cried out to me, but in a way, I think there is something to be said about bringing out these games and them accessing a new audience and potentially, reminding these developers as well that, hey, there is a market for these. Maybe give us the sequel that we always wanted, please.
I think that's what Atari's doing. They're trying to, with those reviving IPs, they're just like, if people clamor for it, people are going to want a sequel.
Oh, I can imagine that people would really appreciate a Cold Fear game.
Yeah, just don't give us something half-assed like Shenmue 3.
Yeah, no.
Man.
As far as games that I'd like to see get this treatment, I'm obviously going to start off with, can we please finally, Gears of 1's gotten 2 remasters. 2 and 3 deserve something, damn it. Coalition, get on it.
2, 3, and Judgment. I think they should be set,
I agree.
If nothing else.
I agree. Give us there's been a rumor for ages about the Gears of War getting the Master Chief Collection treatment. Give us that. Please. That would be awesome. Yeah. But just 2 and 3 deserve something at this point. And then what's another game that came to my Swan, you reminded me of this actually. Resident Evil 5, please? Can we the Resident Evil remakes are punching way above their weight right now. Give us 5, damn it.
They better do 6. 6 is the best Resident Evil co-op game ever.
I agree.
Okay, I'm glad you said I was like, what the? Oh, co-op game. Okay. I was like,
no, you play by yourself. Your partner is basically Gears of War on PS5. It's garbage.
I have 6, and I'm waiting for some of you guys so I can play this with you, because I will not play it by myself.
Well, we got to finish killing zombies, and then we can kill zombies, and then we can do co-op killing zombies.
Oh, look, more zombies.
Maybe when you guys are fully in Gears, you can take a break and kill zombies with me and 6.
I'm cool with that.
Resident Evil 5. Hopefully it gets the Resident Evil remake treatment.
Take just like people have modded the PC version, take off the piss filter, get rid of all that yellow and orange.
Yep.
Give us the color we want.
Yeah. Yep. Give us proper lighting.
Give me Chris Redfield punching boulders. Just give me all of it.
7 minutes is all we need.
7 minutes. Resident Evil 6 would be another good one, but give me 5 first. And then I'm trying to think if there's another one that screams to me right off the top of my head, but nothing's coming to mind right away. So I'm going to,
I don't know. If we could get like Code Veronica 5 and 6 is like, they don't have to be full remakes. Just give us like updates and clean them up a little bit. Maybe have it as a set. That'd be kind of a fun one just to at least have and mess around with. So, all right. So we'll go ahead and wrap up the big question for this week. And I guess that kind of wraps up the show for tonight. We've kept it just under 2 hours. We talked longer than I thought we would, which is actually okay. So, all right. Well, this has been episode 186 of the Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Powers. Joining me. Thank you for joining me once again for Steven and Chase. And we're out. Peace.
No Team Buddies Remastered.
Jinkies. This has been a production of the Zenspath Entertainment Network Podcast by the staff at Zenspath.com. The show is created and edited by Jeremy Powers. You can find the video edition of the show on our YouTube channel at ZenspathCom. The audio edition is located wherever you find your podcasts. Links to all versions of the show, as well as to our Discord where you can talk with us directly, is located at www.zenspath.com. Please leave us a like, thumbs up, comment, and review where you can to help us grow.